right, you dogs. Swab the decks and hoist the sails. The guns on board be needing some proper manning. Pieces of 8 and a fine wench on your arm. If your work be not too shoddy. Careful not to flounder too badly, though, or you may have to dance the hempen jig as we see you to Davy Jones. Chappie, my boy, on with the show.
Welcome, everybody, friends, folks, foes, and fellow pirate mateys, to yet another weekly edition of Pirate Radio Podcast. It's episode number 294. I'm your host, as always, the Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. WPRPN.com is the website we will direct your attention to. Sign up is free. All you simply need is a username, password, and email. From there, everything should be pretty much straightforward. If you run into any problems along the way, do not hesitate in getting back to us via our main email address, pirate1radio@protonmail.com. That's pirate, the numeral 1 radio at protonmail.com. We'll do whatever it takes to help smooth things over and get you sailing off in just the sort of direction you hope to be. That email address is something that you'll also want to take note of if you've been listening to our content over the past several years, or even just short little while as well too, let's not forget, and appreciate what we've been putting out to the public. It's our PayPal contact email, so if you have any show suggestions as well, or guests you'd like to send our way, it's something that is important to take note of. It's how you go about contacting us, one of the main ways at least. But we've also got a Teespring store in place, Patreon, all kinds of ways to engage us and what we're doing here, anywhere between 2 to 3 times a week. D Live, BitChute, Odyssey, Minds.com, they've all got electronic tipping technologies in place, basically digital wallets and so forth, where you can send your favorite content producers booster points, cash, or what have you. So do keep in mind as well too that half of everything that we do manage to generate goes directly back to the grassroots. Hashtag WWRHD. What would Robin Hood do? If all else fails, do not hesitate to just take a couple moments, help, like, comment, share the links that we've got out there. Remember to hit the subscription and notification buttons as well. It really does help with the algorithms, gives our content a little bit of a boost and chance to reach a larger audience, in theory at least. But then, of course, there's this whole business of shadow banning and the way that the game is always rigged, unfortunately, and finding more of this out, given the fact of how recently Elon Musk and his purchase of Twitter has revealed so much of what we really suspected. But so many the kind of people that are labeled conspiracy theorists had hypothesized has now yet again revealed itself to be true. How about that? And by the way, yes, if there are any people out in our listening audience who've been targeted with that particular label or ad hominem attack. The way I like to respond to it is that more than anything, it's not a conspiracy theorist so much as a political scientist. My patented response. So, all right, folks, a renowned martial artist and illusionist back in the early 1980s, James Hydrick seemed well on his way to a life of riches and fame. However, everything was not what it appeared. From covert operations in South America during the heart of Iran Contra to a life of petty crime, things took a serious turn for the worse when he was jailed for inappropriate touching. Now, several decades after having served his original sentence, James remains in state custody at California's notorious Coalinga Mental Hospital. Join us tonight as we continue with all the latest breaking developments surrounding his case. In fact, within the next few days, the world could very well be rocked by a judge's writ of habeas corpus and key witnesses' claims of forced confessions while under extreme duress. So that's an overview, kind of thumbnail sketch of what we're looking at here tonight, episode 294 Pi Radio Podcast, Justice for James Hydrick. We got a couple wingmen on board here, which is really great. The likes of Kyler Davenport, who calls the Pacific Northwest his home, while way over on the other side of the world, more my particular region of the planet, the Korean Peninsula, Newcastle, Australia, our good friend and fellow pirate matey, Amos Dale 777, who more typically likes simply to go by the handle of Alan. So we had hoped that Joshua Berglund would be on board with us here tonight. It was sort of looking like that was going to be the case, but he was in the midst of a birthday party, running a birthday party for his daughter, and maybe caught up with a few other things as well. So we'll just have to see whether or not he does connect with us here tonight is one possible scenario, or even more likely that we do have him on board here as a feature guest at some point, hopefully not too far on down the road. He is an independent filmmaker, among other things. And in fact, we are going to feature something that he was fortunate enough to put together, a what claims to be a secretly recorded video conversation with James. This is the extent, these shadow prisons that function, that operate. And I think Kyler will have a lot to offer on this front, more than myself. But just to throw it out there, the shadow prison network, where just endless, for-profit real cottage industry, of course, the private prisons for profit, clear across the U.S. and God only knows where else. But that's some major red flags, if you'll excuse the pun. And yes, there's a reason why those flags are red, folks, in case you haven't figured that one out yet. This whole case is mind-blowing. The story of James Hydrick and why more coverage has not been provided, in particular since he's found himself incarcerated and now institutionalized. He walked free. He was a free man. For how long exactly, I'm not sure. But, after having served out his original prison sentence, the state of California decided that I think it's what's called involuntary, face this form of involuntary confinement. So, Kyler, we got you on board once again via the Great Pacific Northwest. Thanks for dropping in. Also, Alan via Newcastle, Australia. Gentlemen, what exactly do you know of this particular case?
Well, I've just been reading a little bit up on the on Wikipedia, and yeah, well, they apparently don't like him. Apparently, he's always been accused of being a pedophile, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the story is there, but yeah, so they certainly don't like him.
Who's they?
Well, the powers that be, shall we say?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
The usual they.
Yeah. No, he's an outstanding individual. His life story track record shows that. And he did get into trouble back in the day. He was a con man. There's no doubt about that. And what magician isn't, right? So, in fact, we've got a clip in the queue here coming up tonight. Not sure how many of our audience members have actually seen the documentary dealing with the life of the amazing James Randi. It's called An Honest Liar. And Randy was the one who exposed James on national television back in the day. I think it was on What's My Line with Bob Barker. But, and James never did get a chance to perform on the Johnny Carson show. He'd already been busted by that point. But That's Incredible was another TV show that he received national exposure on, and things were really looking up for him in a big way when suddenly everything took a turn for the worse. If you look into his backstory, though, as a child as well, it's really quite something. He was it was not a good upbringing at all, unfortunately. And what people just have to. I mean, I'm not sure what I should really say about the whole thing, other than he put up with a lot of abuse, and there was a lot of. I think his mother was quoted in this one documentary that her husband wasn't a bad man. Husband wasn't a bad man. He just happened to be a wife beater. So, yeah, some pretty intense details. So, Kyler, what have you managed to glean or learn about the James Hydrick story over the years?
Well, it's kind of a very complex story involving a lot of clandestine individuals. But, I mean, Hendrick, he testified on his own behalf. He told everybody where he was born. He was very honest. He was evaluated by many psychologists. His mother was 13 when he was born. I don't know if y'all know that. And his father was 36, and his father abused him severely. And I mean, this kid was tied to a tree for months at a time and had manure put in his face, and he had to eat manure. And he had to sleep in the chicken coop, and he was chained to a wall. And I've got a lot of inside information from friends who actually knew this case really well, but nobody was ever sure about any of the facts of this case. It was so clandestine, and there was a lot of facts that didn't come out at the original trial, about the van and the the situation with the kidnapping, the robbery, and the copulation, and all of the other things that evidently they said took place. Hydrick denied that he molested any children at all.
Oh, they
He
weren't
claimed that,
involved. They weren't part of that incident. There were two separate incidents.
yeah,
Uh, and that the first one with the van, there were actually several. He was in the van with several friends
friends,
or
yeah.
accomplices, if you will.
Well,
So,
they weren't friends; they were accomplices. Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
But
with friends like that, who needs enemies, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, but he was also injected with sodium
There
pentothal
you
and
go.
Paladol
That's
and
right.
many other psychotropic drugs, and
Yep.
he says that he didn't have a sexual problem and was not enrolled in a sexual offender treatment program. He was sentenced to 17 years at that time anyway, thinking that, well, that's the way it goes, right? There was a lot of political pressure on, and there was a lot of pressure, as I said, from other agencies. He said he should have served 9 years. His original release date was like June 8th, 1998, I think. But that SVP law was passed in 1996. So, that was kind of a bad thing to happen. A lot of defense experts, so-called experts, I don't like that word experts, the psychologist, Hillard Brenton, has testified that Hendrick had done individual therapy with her and within a lot of her groups, actually, not just one, but several
Oh,
of her groups. And
what name? What name was that again?
Hillard Trenton,
Oh, sound like you said Hillary Clinton. I say. So it's
no, Hillard Triton, Hillard Triton,
T
but
R
she,
I D.
Trypten,
Okay. All right.
she didn't see any manifestation at all. Her and her two colleagues didn't see any manifestation of pedophilia in Hendrick.
No,
She was
no,
aware,
no.
however, that Hendrick scored very, very high on the psychopathy checklist as far as psychosis. But that was because he was so manipulative and clandestine, and he had a lot of the same traits that I do, and he'd been involved in a lot of the same type of missions that I've been involved in. And so we can be considered psychopathy. We can be considered to have psychopathy because we play so many different roles being undercover, like I was 5 years. I was
Yeah,
kind of psych,
yeah. You're
you know,
required to wear a whole a spectrum of different masks depending on the situation you find yourself. You have to adopt a
you
new
know, yeah.
persona
Well,
character.
I still don't know who the hell I am, but psychology. Robert Halen was one of the psychologists that I read about. I read his background. He testified that there's research that concluded that it is impossible to diagnose pedophilia or pedophilic disorder. It's impossible to have a diagnosis, and there's many reasons sociologically and sociopsychologically and analytically for that particular finding. It's difficult to distinguish between someone with a mental disorder and someone who just wants to engage in this type of activity for sexual gratification.
Yeah,
So it's a very complex
yeah,
diagnosis.
but look, James is not nowhere close. Even if he was guilty, which I don't believe he is, but if and this is after having examined as much of the evidence as has been possible, and it's the more that I would I would I would be willing to bet and challenge actually anyone listening to do the same because I was very hesitant to even touch this story, even though I knew this is going back to 2017 when we first started to cover uh, James and his life story. But because of the stigma mostly surrounding it, it's like I really did not want to go there. Super. I remembered him
Me,
as
I did my thesis. I'm doing my thesis on this. I'm getting my PhD in psychology and in
uh-huh,
sociology.
right.
I did thesis on this. And Carolyn Murphy was another psychologist that was in his favor, in Hydrick's favor, and said
Oh,
that he definitely did not have any
yeah.
pedophilic
Well,
whatsoever.
there was 2 tribunals that he has gone before since being locked away at Coalinga, where I guess, it's a real motley crew that they have. It's not, I mean, it's almost like
Yeah,
stories he's saying, like the staff members are all almost as bad as most, if
yeah.
not worse than the actual
Like one flew
people they're
over,
supposed to be
like one flew
taking
over the
care of.
cuckoo's nest, like kind of like
Oh
one
yeah,
flew over the cuckoo.
yeah, exactly. But anyways, with he's 2 tribunals, and that they've ruled on his case, and I think the last one, it was 10-2 in his favor that he should be released. But because of the
Mhm.
way that I guess the state laws, the game is rigged, that it's not just a majority, you need to have a unanimous decision and ruling in your favor. It could be 11-1 and you'd still be institutionalized. So 10-2 in his favor. And I'm looking for that article actually, which it should still be here via the interweb. So if I'm not sure if Alan can maybe track that one down or what have you. But yeah, it's been a really rough ride as of late, especially with COVID and the number of people that in Coalinga. Uh, uh, who was it? It was actually the documentary filmmaker. Oh, God, Louis Theroux. Uh, it was called A Place for Pedophiles, and probably deservedly so, because most of the people. By the way,
You know, it's legal.
they don't allow gangbangers. They don't allow there's guess what? People like James is an extreme case because of the politicization of things, and I mean, what was this inappropriate touching? Maybe, which now turns out to be it was totally that the witness who testified under or provided his testimony under over 100+ hours is what James is saying of uh he was confined and had to face extreme interrogation on the part of the police,
Yeah,
that he was forced to confess
yeah.
because of pressure from the DEA
Mhm.
and just the police and God only knows who, what other legal, you know, agencies or bodies, as it were. So all part of the Kraken, unfortunately. Uh,
Well, I've been under intense interrogation
this is a
when I was.
minor though, dude. This is a kid who was at the time I think 12 or something like that. And
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
truth of the matter, now all these years later, he's come forward. He's become. I'm not sure. I guess his Christianity, his
Whatever.
conversion, maybe was a part of it.
Yeah,
But he's
yeah.
now saying apparently that, look, I was forced to make this confession under duress, and none of this ever happened at all. Yet
Right,
here's the thing:
right,
the lawyers that James has had supporting him have never called upon the witnesses. And James, he said,
right,
call the witnesses. I want them to
right.
testify. Come on, like,
Yeah.
and they have yet to get to that. Say, I guess his last lawyer got back to him saying, yeah, looking back on things, I guess you're right. Maybe it was something of a tactical error. It's, oh, Jesus Christ, these, it's, oh
Well,
man.
Hydrick did not want the trial court. He thought the trial court erred in allowing victim impact evidence at all because, at the trial, one victim was impeached for several criminal convictions. And, the victim testified that when his mother learned he was being molested, she sent him to the hospital for adolescence. He had to stay there for 2 years and lied over Hendrick's objection, as to relevance and undue prejudice at that time. Trial court allowed the victim to testify how his life had been ruined and because of all the hospitalizations and everything. So, it's just crazy. The whole thing's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well,
You know,
yeah. I mean, he's a poster boy for so many things that are wrong with the system as it is. His story most definitely is, and that's why one of the links that we have in the show description end of things, it's adjustfuture.org, I believe, and I'm just getting into it now, but this business, as was mentioned in the introduction, of America's, and that's spelled with a K, folks, in case you're wondering. There's America with a C and America with a K. And in this instance, like it or not, it's America with a K. Okay. So same with Canada. Sometimes it's, I take the liberty in spelling Canada with a C, and then other times it's a K. Usually when Castro is promoting one of his, creepy statist type policies in conjunction, working as a proxy agent for both the CCP and World Economic Forum, that's when it gets spelled with a K. Similar to, down in the U.S. with Beijing Biden and the kind of crap that he's been promoting over the past couple of years, all too often spelled with a K. When things are looking up, though, and there's something that's more positive and bright to cover, then I spell things the way that people are more accustomed to seeing them. So, but there's so many. Go
These
ahead.
these false accusations of molestation are epidemic in the United States courts, and judges have now become wise to this over the last 10 years, especially that this is the first charge a mother will put on a father if she doesn't like him for any reason at all. And
Right.
of course, the police will be there
Right.
that night or this morning
Yeah.
to pick you up and ruin your life,
That's
the rest
right.
of your life.
Yeah.
So it's the most used and abused accusation that's used in the United States and around the world, actually. So it's really hard to determine. This is why these are very complex, difficult cases to try, unless there's direct physical forensic evidence of semen or damage to the vagina or the penis or the genital area or some other areas of the body. It's very, very, very difficult to prove these cases or disprove these cases. So they're very complex, very political, very highly emotionally charged cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had mentioned actually Louis Theroux in this. It was a pretty decent documentary that I think he titled "A Place for Pedophiles." It's a place for a lot of things. The staff members, there's a lot of them, according to James, as we're going to see here momentarily. But people working on staff, not all of them. It's not all that are bad, he says, but there's some that are pretty bad. And there, it's not the people, the inmates, as it were, or the clientele uh, that have got the problem with child porn. It's the people working on the inside that all too often it's the sort of thing that
Our
they're in
government,
possession of. They're in possession of,
look at the
just like
look
what we
at the
heard,
how
the Pentagon. How many years ago now? The
look
Pentagon. How many
look
hundreds
at
of
the
Pentagon
investigation.
employees? Come
Yeah.
on.
Well, no, it wasn't just the Pentagon. It was the DOD and the DOJ. That was a major investigation that I did, that I uncovered, was the Department of Justice, the FBI, the DOJ, the NSA, the CIA. I mean, this is rampant in police
Yeah.
departments, sheriff's departments, border patrol, molesting and raping children in the wide open spaces. This is a rampant thing. This is a difficult subject, a very important. Actually.
Yeah. In fact, that reminds me, there's a story that we just made note of the other day, that the America has now dropped from 6 to 24
Yeah.
in the ranking or rating of is it justice, or kind of like the quality of living, but the quality of
But,
law.
but
What was that recently,
yeah.
that study?
Well, I know the average income were 29,
No,
30,
no, it
30
wasn't.
seconds.
It's not. No, no.
And they,
It's got to do with the way that the legal system operates, basically. So just, I guess, justice, perhaps the most just
we don't have
nations,
it.
and yeah, as fairness and so forth. That it's since 2000 has dropped from number 6 in the world to 24. I'll have to track that down. I think we there's a link that we have here, and we'll be
These are
sharing in conjunction with upcoming
these are
news.
kangaroo courts, though. You have to understand these are fictional kangaroo courts, and they're not based on justice. They're based on money and politics and power. So there is no justice. Let's don't talk about justice. Let's
Right.
don't talk
Yeah.
blinded lady, the blindfolded lady with the scales. Let's just forget that fiction. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
unfortunate that it is fiction, the so-called justice of the world. Like we like to think that justice is, if you go to court for whatever reason, that right will be righted and wrong will be punished. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not the
But
way the world works.
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It's just a dog and pony show. It's a circus, and it's theater. It's all theater, and it's all who has the best knowledge of the rule of law, the legalese, and who has the most money, and who's paying off what judge and what prosecutor, and who's in with who in the back room, and what kind of deals they make in the back room. I worked in the State Department, and I worked in Washington, and worked in several courts, and as a bounty hunter, and I with the constables, and all of these deals are made in the back room, and all of these plea bargains are just ridiculous. And it's all just a dog and pony show. So tonight, we shouldn't even try to talk about justice. Let's talk about politics, power, and money and domination.
yeah, that's right.
You know
Well,
what
and
it's all.
James himself, working as he did in the capacity of a special ops super soldier, really is the way I see things clearly. I mean, this his martial arts ability back in the day, as I'm sure they are even up to the present, right off the charts. And that's the reason he was recruited. Bo Greitz was one of the people that met with him. Michael Rupert, he had relations with him over the years. I believe during the time that he was locked up in the L.A. County Jail, he claims to even have been in a cell that was adjacent to where Manson was calling home at the time. So there's even over the years he's stated that Sirhan was actually, it was the alphabet bomber. This which is all new to me hearing about this, the alphabet bomber, and the attempt to recruit James to help lead a cult, the Aliens of America. That's what it was. Aliens of America, AOA, the alphabet bomber, Sirhan, and because of James's supposed ability to brainwash people, it
Well,
was.
that's why I was conscripted. That's why I was conscripted out of San Diego in the Navy to special ops, because I had a master's in neurolinguistic programming and I
Yeah.
scored off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And they conscripted me as an interrogator. And so I was sent to Bolivia, and then I was sent to to infiltrate the cartels, and then I went crazy, and then I became somebody. Several different passports and several different identifications, names, and backgrounds were created for me. But what I was going to say, the United Nations, I would like to give a quick breaking news story concerning this story. The United Nations has just ruled that you cannot call anyone a pedophile anymore. You have to call them a minor attracted person, and that sex is legal with children. The United Nations has just come down with that ruling.
Well, that's obviously, it's just
It's
too, well,
on their
to hell
website.
to hell with the United
It's on
Nations.
their
And the
website.
problem is, you see, is because this,
No,
as
not
you
to hell.
pointed.
Not to hell. This is real. This is
No,
important. This
no,
is
yes,
impact all of us.
well, you're saying, no, I'm saying that I mean, this is, why should anyone support such a thing? To promote to
Well,
promote.
you
This
have
has
to
been in
admit,
the
you're
works for
talking. Look,
years now, Kyler. You realize that, of
you and
course.
I
This
are
has
smart.
been they've
You
been
and I are
promoting this,
smart.
trying to get to this, reach this
Yeah.
end, and have this foisted and you know.
They've done it. They've done it. They've finished. They've done
Well,
it. I mean, they've won. They won. I mean, they won. They've
yeah,
got a new
well,
law they signed into. They've got a new law that in Canada. I told you about it the other night, I think, and it's coming to the United States at the middle of next year. Where if you're within 200 feet of an LGBTQP person or a femme or a spirit two person, and you make any gesture at all negatively toward them or any kind of violent behavior or any kind of arguing, you will go straight to jail. No questions asked.
and these are people, the LGBTQT and every other letter of
See,
the
spirit,
alphabet. These are the sort of
yes,
people who just not so long ago were actually themselves institutionalized. They found themselves the receiving end of the the Kraken's tentacles, under the guise and auspices of suffering from some form of mental disorder, which I think, there's a lot to be said for that, obviously. So the DSM now, Diagnostical Statistics Manual, has, and with the affiliate, uh, with the psychologists that gather to determine which labels and which diagnoses are applicable, that it's really as simple as that. It's because, yeah, we said so. So let's write this. We'll add this to the DSM. We'll
well,
take this out. But it's a growth industry. It seems, it's very much
in in
very.
the in the defense of people in the LGBT community, you community, I would like to say that the majority of these people are not pedophiles, are not promoting pedophilia. And I know that might sound strange to some of the audience, but I would not want to come on a show that would generalize on all of the LGBTQ community or the S2 or the S2 spirit community or FEM community
Right.
as
What's
advocating.
S2? I have no idea. What is S2?
I'm not even going to tell you because there's 93 pronouns as of today. So I'm not even going to tell you.
Do you know that in
Uh,
Canada, apparently you get fined if you don't address? There's like 70 some odd pronouns up in Canada where if you do
you
not
can't. Let me tell
address,
you this.
you get fined. Apparently, Trudeau
You
brought
can't.
this in. If you don't address them according to the pronoun that they want you to, that you potentially face a fine,
United
and
States.
I'm not sure if jail is
Parts,
involved or seizure of assets, maybe execution. That's what it'll get to
parts of
eventually,
the
though.
United States. Parts of the United States in the third month of February of next year. You will not be able to call any little boy cute or any little girl cute or anything at all. You will have to call them by a pronoun, no matter whether you like it or not, or whether their parents like it or not. You cannot say honey if you're like, a restaurant and you're a waiter. You say, oh, hi, hun. Can't do that. Or hi, sweetie. You know how waitresses will say, oh, hi, sweetie.
Uh,
Can't do that. And this is a law, and this is going to be a strict law. I mean, very, very
where
strict
where
law.
is this? What states?
United States, the United States. It's happening right now,
And this
all
is
over the.
being pushed by the Beijing Biden administration.
Yes, of course. And Biden has also made everyone who is a Christian or anti-narrative of any kind of the deep state, dark state, or the cabal, or the syndicate, or the World Economic Forum, or the administration, an enemy of the state. You're going on the FBI watch list immediately, and you're going to be a person of interest immediately,
Uh-huh.
and You're going to be flagged. So all of you are flagged. You're flagged. I'm flagged.
Red
Alan's flagged.
flagged. Red, got it, red
Yeah,
flagged. Yeah.
you're watched. You're monitored. You're put on a special list. You're put into a special algorithm, and you're put into a special category for the coming social credit score,
Yeah.
where you will be punished
That's right.
fairly. Yes.
And now with AI coming more
Oh, don't
into the
get me started.
mainstream and integrated into the way that biometrics and, as you say, social credit, and all the rest operates in this, what they were pushing back when I first got here to South Korea, 2002. Ubiquitous that was one of the few words that I understood on television, because it was the Kongrishi, as it's said here, ubiquitous, ubiquitous. You would hear it everywhere. Not so much anymore. I don't know why they dropped it, but they were really pushing it hard back in the day. And it's in conjunction with the singularity, obviously, the faux
Well,
singularity, the Antichrist agenda. And that's, hey,
well,
let me just get this disclaimer out here, Kyler. I'll hand it back
go ahead.
over to you. Then if Alan wants to speak, fine. And then we'll get
Go
to
ahead.
we get comments, and then we have some
Go ahead.
AV we need to queue up. But let me just say that the
Go ahead.
views and opinions expressed on behalf of myself, the show's host, and our guests do not necessarily reflect those via the wider listening audience nor the show's sponsors. In addition to that, we're not here to offer any formal medical, financial, or what is the third category? There's medical, financial, or legal advice. That is correct indeed. Medical, legal, or financial advice. So just to be get that straight and to be clear regarding that whole business. I'm not sure how much YouTube appreciates that, but um, you know, it's it's a clown world, unfortunately. And the more that the deep state, or however you want to categorize things, or whatever label people choose to use, the more that you remember the they, as came out on the whole Tim
Hey,
Pool
them.
show when
Yeah.
Ye showed up, and
Uh-huh.
this whole they business.
Yeah. Of
It's the
course.
unmentionable they. But anyways, the way that they have got things um, in place and been operating for years, and that we, as I don't know if you say light workers or what have you exactly, truth tellers. I know, freedom fueled truth bombs are our stock and trade here via the Robin Hood. That the more that we, throughout the course of what is really the age of apocalypse, expose and bring light to the darkness and the shadows, that there are consequences to that, unfortunately. And not always of the positive sort. People need to be prepared, because with the exposure, uh, there's pushback on their part. And I think this is what we're seeing here, as per what Kyler has laid out. If in fact, we got to follow up on this, of course, but we've been hearing about the whole the pro pedophile agenda from the top, the way in legalizing the whole business, and incest as well too is something else that's their idea of progress. So the so-called
Well, that
progressives.
that that incest is how we got here, and that's been going on in still, Alabama. I've been to Scottsboro. I've been to Mississippi. I've been to Oklahoma. Been to Alabama. I've been to Arkansas. Incest is the only thing to do up there. I mean, there's nothing else to do. So don't even start talking about incest. It's a normal, very natural, normal thing around the hillbilly country in Louisiana where I grew up and used to be a paramedic. I mean, that's just a normal thing. So, and let's don't
Isn't
get into
isn't
all
but
that.
isn't it a criminal offense?
No, no, them boys and girls down there, them good old boys don't. No, 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 no. You see your little 12-year-old running around in their panties out there 400 miles out in the woods. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Here we go again. Here we go again.
Yeah,
Kyler and the
yeah. Well, that's
12-year-old
just the way
girls
it is.
running around their panties.
That's just the
That's
way it is. Just the way it is, my friend. Grow up.
Yeah, but
Grow up.
the question is it legal?
Well, they don't care anything about legal in
Well, that's what I'm
Louisiana and
saying. It
Ohio.
doesn't, it's
Oh,
they might
I mean, you can.
engage in this sort of thing.
Yes, it's legal. Yes, it's legal. Look it up.
Really?
Arkansas, Mississippi, Scottsboro,
Okay.
Alabama.
So you
Look at
can
some
you
of
can
these
impregnate your
like
12-year-old daughter, and that's completely fine as far as the
10-year-old.
law is
Yeah,
concerned.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And some of, especially in these good old boy courts in there, they don't even go by legal. Okay, you haven't been around like I have. I've been all over the world. I've been all over the United States. They don't care about legal. What's legal? What is legal anymore? They care about the good old boy system. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I used to go out when I was a paramedic in Louisiana delivering little black babies out there on Highway 1 out of Bossier City. And I'd go out and deliver a little baby or go out and see a little aborted baby in a toilet. And I'd ask what happened there. And they'd say, well, a stepfather here impregnated her, her father impregnated her. She thought she was on her period and had a, whatever, she had a miscarriage, I guess. Well, the police, the big old sheriff would be out there like on Dukes of Hazzard. He'd come out there with toilet paper hanging out of his pants and said, well, things happen. Don't worry about it. Just let her go to bed and rest for a couple of days. She'll be fine. I mean, that's the way this stuff works in all these
Okay,
little
so
things.
I guess what you're saying is they turn a blind eye. Then they don't enforce it.
Yeah, big deal. No big deal. No big deal.
How do you feel about that personally? Is it no big deal for you?
Normal, perfectly normal. Men are horny. Men are dogs. I mean, if the opportunity, pedophilia in my studies in sociology and psychology and looking at this at a very, very, very in-depth level, men are horny. Men are lustful, and men like the unmentionable, the taboo.
Men of
And
all ages.
like younger women. Yeah, they like
Well,
younger
but it's
women. They
interesting
like
because I've noticed, like, as an example myself, I think there's probably quite a few that other
no man
men.
that
Look,
looks.
your libido. Look, as a younger man, there's no doubt that my sexual drives were way off. They were off the charts, as most young males are. That's how it works with the hormones and just nature has us programmed. So, but as we age, I know myself speaking, from personally that I just really, it's like what was the famous, I'm not sure which Tibetan Lama this was, but it was some Rinpoche, one or another. It's stating that if sex was really all that great, you'd only ever have to do it just once.
Right.
Kind of like
The
enlightenment. And in
about the
addition to
fantasy.
that, think about the way that you have an itch. You have an itch that you just got to keep going back to that itch. And every time you just scratch and scratch and scratch, and you think that it's gonna solve everything, but guess what? It doesn't. It keeps coming back.
Our study,
So
our
what are you gonna
studies,
do? That sounds
at
like
university.
dis-ease to me, some kind of a
Yeah,
dis-ease or disorder, but
our studies proved, and I'm not going to go into the statistics because I want you to finish your show, that 82% of men over 50 years old get sexually attracted and really aroused by any 13 or 14-year-old at the swimming pool with a two-piece bikini on with a little bit JJ showing and the long
geez.
blonde hair, red painted toenails. They're going to have fantasies about it. They won't tell their wife. They won't tell their girlfriend. They'll get out at the campfire and get a little drunk. And every guy that I worked with when we were
Yeah.
doing survival
Here we
training
go
would talk
again.
about to get a hold of her. Well, that's true. See, you like to skirt the truth on this show. You
No,
like to
no, no. You like
know?
you like to emphasize one particular end of the spectrum where what you're failing to do is
Women are the
recognize there's a
women are
lot,
the
there's a whole
women are
range
the
and a larger like myself personally, the way I've been taught is that you look like I work with kids of that age, for crying out loud, that you look at them as your daughters, your nieces, your
oh,
nephews,
hey, now,
your mothers, your grandmothers, your aunts, your sisters, all right?
yeah.
And that the first and that you're not some horny out of control teenager anymore. You've got as a grown adult mature man, hopefully people can over the course of their lives working on getting more of a handle on
Well, yeah.
their urges, impulses, and
It's all about
desires.
opportunity. Also, we figured in this studies all over the country, if you look at these studies at universities, it's all about opportunity also. If you're out in the country, you're a stepfather, you have a sexy 14-year-old and a sexy 13-year-old, and mom's at work all day and they're running around in their panties all over the house, things happen. We did in-depth studies have been done on this all over the world, Kathy. You're just living in a cave. You're living in a cave, man.
Like a hermit or a monk.
Can I say something for a minute? I understand where you're coming from, Kyla. There's probably that happens a lot. But as far as I'm concerned, sex with a minor, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about, like,
hey, you know why, Alan? You know why?
Right.
It's not only wrong, but it's just not really all that rewarding either. I think the best way to go is forget about the minors, loggers and fishermen. Those are the ones that you have the most fun with, really. If you think about it, those minors. No.
By the way,
So,
I didn't say. By the way, I didn't say babies, and I didn't say 8, 9, 10-year-olds. Okay, I'm talking about these studies start at
Hey,
12.
send
and
us
go
the links.
to 18, right?
Send us the links then, Professor Dr. Freud, all right? Or who is that? Or Dr.
Yeah.
Kinsey. Hey, have you looked into the story of Dr. Kinsey?
who's he?
Well, he was the big revolutionary. They made a movie of him. In fact, his life, Hollywood treats that kind of crap, of course, that the lionizing, making him some great hero. But in the same way with Hugh CIA asset Hefner and his whole, the way his
Well,
life played
how do
out
you
over the
think?
years.
How do you think they keep all of these top secrets with Hillary Clinton and with the former FBI director? How do you think they get people clandestine into these missions, and how do they get them to be the Manchurian Candidate, and how do they get them to do the things they do? They get them in a motel room with a young girl or a young boy, and they take pictures of them. I used to put the spy cameras through the sheetrock; they're about pin size, and you get them in there, and you get them a little drunk, and the first thing they want to do is have sex, and that's 9 out of 10 men. And then you threaten to send pictures to their wife and 3 kids at home and their grandchildren, and they'll do anything in the world for you. This is how the whole system works.
Yeah.
This is how.
That's one way. That's one
Yeah.
standard opera technique and strategy
Call it
way of
flex.
doing things. Hey, let me answer the question though, Kyler, please. You're very knowledgeable. Of course, you seem almost to be an expert in the area. What about Kinsey? Are you a fan of his?
No, not at all. Not any more than I am. It's bullshit.
Oh, really? So,
Yeah. No.
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that then. So maybe
Okay.
we'll just leave it at that. Look, we got to queue up some of the ask you guys to mute out, and yes, no fear. Well, why don't we hear straight from the horse's mouth here? Your contact information, just KylerDavenport.com, I guess, and Lone Wolf Radio.
Just Google me. I'm on Blog Talk Radio 5 nights a week.
To hell with
Wolf
Google.
Radio.
DuckDuckGo.
Wolf Radio.
Yeah. What I think Minds. You have a Minds profile that we like to use that, and preferably launch your own in-house WPRPN man cave.
I am. We are. We've been just really busy with cases and missions, and
takes 10 minutes.
Actually,
takes 10 minutes, folks.
I know.
Sign up is free. All you simply need is a username, password, and email. Boom. You put a little blurb, bio overview of who you are and what you're all about, a photo or two, and then just a couple of your social media URLs. There you go.
Right.
You're off to the races.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. And Alan, just Amos Dale 777, a little more tricky, I think. We typically, I don't know if do you have that Minds channel together yet, or are we still forced to use your Twitch?
I still haven't got back to it. I haven't spent that 10 minutes yet, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm basically I can be found on Amos 777 on YouTube, plus Twitch. But yeah, I haven't sorted
you need to get it together. Get your Twitch, get your YouTube, get your Minds, put it all together either on Minds or more preferably, once again, just WPRPN, and there you go. It's really that easy. It's not very complicated at all. So, all right, look, ask you guys to mute out. We are going to acknowledge the fact that we got a handful of folks out there. Joey Boomer, last one, 207, and Joshua Allen Huckle, it looks like, each of whom are all joining us via different platforms. Joey Boomer over on D Live. Last one, 207, holding down the YouTube end of things, and Joshua over on Facebook. So that's great to see you guys. We really appreciate that. It's tough for us to open up too many browsers here ourselves via the desktop because of the burden that it puts on the system, the operating system, and I guess CPU. Really, it's just the way it goes, unfortunately. But yeah, keep those comments, questions, thoughts coming, what have you. As I said, we're going to queue up the videos that we have in on hand here for you, and let you get more of an insight, more of a look at what, the James Hydrick story, what he's really, the details, of course, and what, a few more of the particulars that maybe, people are not all that aware of. So, because it's so easy to judge, of course, people are very prejudiced when it comes to this whole issue. And the fact is, if you look into his case, that you'll find it's really quite bizarre, the way that his life story unfortunately has unfolded, and the fact that he's still being kept in state confinement is a real travesty, and utterly unjust. Part of America's shadow prison network. AdjustFuture.com is the website, one of them that will direct your attention to. Of course, there's, I believe, Sir James Hydrick is another that we've added to the show notes. So check all of those out. Just trying to get everything lined up here as best we can. We have 7, looks like, altogether here, 7 videos. So just bear with us here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that's 6 right there. All righty. So we'll just have to do this manually. And this is the way we operate. We run things when we have the Late Night in Korea shows going out to the world, which happens once every 2 weeks, every Monday night, 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 11:30 rather, should I say? I think I misspoke there. 11:30 here via the Korean Peninsula. It's either 7:30 a.m. in the morning via the Americas out in the West Coast. 10:30 a.m. for people who call places like, well, New York, Miami, Montreal home. Let's get the show on the road here via the AV. End of tonight's special edition, Justice for James Hydrick. He talks about actually just breaking. We heard from his girlfriend, Jin Lizzie, and who's a really talented artist. If people check her out via Facebook, you'll see the incredible work that she does. Very almost, I myself don't know a heck of a lot as far as art is concerned, but shades of Salvador Dali in many ways. You can see a definite absurdist type influence at work via her end of things. But he's in search of a pro bono solicitor out of California. So that's one of the things that we got to work on, helping to communicate and get out to our listeners. Pro bono legal support out of California. We'll check back in with Kyler, who might have a few ideas on that front in just a couple of minutes. But
They have the Innocence Project out there.
Pardon
They have
me?
the Innocence Project. They have the Innocence Project out there. I'll send you a few
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah. I think he might be aware of that one, but let's get the links. Anyways, that's good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that one. So here we go. Well, this is why we need a, it's the limited technical.
You need a producer.
Yeah, technical production, because it's just too
Have a
overly
producer.
distracting. But here we go. Radio silence, please. A lot of great quality content coming your way here. We'll be back shortly.
I was born and raised in South Carolina. Aiken County is where I'm from, and it's Beach Island, South Carolina is where I grew up. I spent a lot of time on the Savannah River. I grew up on the river. I know everything about the river. I knew where alligators hid, frogs hid, you name it, I knew it. As a child, I experienced a lot of abuse from my father and witnessed other abuse. While on the chain gang with my father in 1964, I saw a show on TV at the prison that he at the chain gang with Bruce Lee. And I knew then that's what I'm gonna have to do to protect my siblings from being beaten and stuff. I started studying martial arts. I happened to have a child psychologist named Robert Fletcher who happened to know Kempo and Tang Soo Do. So he introduced me to what is known then as empty hand. And he noticed that I was extremely good for a 9-year-old. And he introduced me to some people, Master Wayne Frey and other people, who took an interest in me because of my ability to read people. I knew from my early childhood, I knew how to read people. They lied to me. Come on, go over here. We got horses and stuff like that. And you get there's no horses. You learn how to read people's body language, eye movement, and everything. I could do that in combat. Even as a kid, 9 years old, I was able to do that in combat. I fought 16-year-olds at the age of 10 and was putting them on their butt. So I was pretty good. And my photos and my books and stuff, you can see the shape I was in. You had to build your body like a temple. Your body is your temple. Whatever you put in it, that's what you get out of it. I went on and met other people, and I looked up and happened to meet Grandmaster Ed Parker, Sr. And Ed Parker Sr., he took a hell of an interest in me. And Dave German, Moses Powell out of New York, and other people top in the martial art range. And I just got really good in martial arts. I tried to join the Army Rangers in Fort Gordon, and they said I had some type of low scoring on reading and writing because I was dyslexic, but they sent me at the time to Fayetteville, North Carolina, up at Fort Bragg, and put me in a special program. I got out of the program because I didn't like it. It was something like the Brotherhood of the Rose. And so I went about, traveled the United States, went up to California, met people in Hollywood. I spent a lot of time there. And then I went to other places, Canada, just traveling the United States. And then in 1977, we were on Hollywood Boulevard. It's a Friday night. We have no money. And this guy that I was with had friends come by the event and say, hey, let's go. We're going to go party, go to a party. And I was 18 years old, and I said, okay, we're going to go to a party. So I get in the van and go with these guys on the party. And we didn't have enough money, so we went out and picked up male prostitutes. And I didn't know any better. And we took their money. And one of the guys that was in there, that was in the van on our side, didn't rub his penis on this guy's face and threw him out on the road. And everybody there was charged with, I think it was charged with forcible copulation. Then we were put in jail. We stayed in jail 4 years in LA County Jail. And while I was in jail, I met Lieutenant Michael Rupert. He was a drug enforcement officer. And he recruited me into an operation known as Boomerang. And okay, we got fights out here right now. See, this is how bad this place has been getting. Right now we got fights. Anyway, I want to back up. Just for a minute and go back to 1969. They put me in South Carolina Department of Mental Retardation because my father tied me to the tree. They got busted. I was tied to a tree with the dogs for about 6 months and Health and Human Services caught them. If you see Psychic's Confession, you can see my mother. She comes on there and she says it's a sad thing, but it's true. The social services knew things were bad, but they didn't know they were leaving me there. I had to sleep in the chicken coop at night to keep warm. But at night, I learned how to pick locks, and I'd go down to the river anyway, and then come back and lock myself up the next morning. But still, I was confined all days, and I turned to that. And the social worker at Wood Village says it was the lesser of the two evils. Either I go to a state institution or I go to South Carolina Department of Mental Retardation because I'm borderline mentally retarded is what they told me. So I wasn't. I had a hell of a childhood. Trying to adjust to all kind of stuff. So they took me. All this can be confirmed with documents that we have available. So they put me in Whitney Village in Clinton, South Carolina. I stayed there for 9 years, 10 years. That's where I met Robert Fletcher. He was my child psychologist. Went there from age 9 to age 15. Okay? And when they released me, then of course that's when I did my traveling and studying martial arts, different places. But getting back to the LA County, I'm sorry for jumping around like that.
No, it's okay.
30 minutes. I did the 4 years in the county jail. While in jail, I'm getting fights with James Holliday, who's the BGF general, and I didn't know that. And I had a fight on the third floor chow hall. Me and a guy named Virgil Kimmy took out about 16 goon squads, took their equipment from them because they were abusing us, clapping us around. It was Virgil Kimmy who they slapped. I just happened to be there when it happened, and he happened to be a good friend of mine, and I just helped him. We were good friends because we had something in common. We both studied tempo, and we didn't know that it was going to turn out. We were scared, but we came out on top. We didn't get prosecuted for that, but we made some friends with the LAPD at the time, including Sheriff Peter J. Pitches, who took an interest in me. After the incident between me and Doc Holliday, James Holliday, they moved me to the Hall of Justice Jail, which is where I met Lieutenant Michael Rupert. He was involved with exposing the CIA on the Iran Contra affair with the drugs, cocaine being introduced to the United States to the Crips and the Bloods. He recruited me and got me involved with Operation Boomerang, and then it eventually turned into Pegasus, Operation Pegasus in 82, 84, Operation Watchtower, which is the incident in ODB in El Salvador area on the Hydrick River, where my friends were killed because of bad intel. Me, Chinko, and Bo Grits, these are people that were involved in some of these operations, decided that we were going to not go on any more operations. And we just were friends. But this thing could have been avoided, but they screwed us over. And it seemed like it was intentional, just the way everything went down. And in 88, I go back to South Carolina, prepared for the battle in Atlanta with Joe Corley. I did a breakdown there, and Ed Parker contacted me and said, hey, Joe tells me you did a breakdown there of 50, 60-something inches of concrete. And yeah, he said, can you do that up here? And I said, I've been working on a 100-inch concrete break. And he said, if you do up here, I'll make you a millionaire. So I prepared in Atlanta, got everything together. He paid for me to come out to Huntington Beach. I stayed in Huntington Beach, prepared for the 25th silver anniversary of the Ed Parker's International Karate Championship. And I did a break 89 inches. Some of the bricks was broken. After that, I made it on the cover of Inside Kung Fu. I had already been on Kung Fu magazines before. I'm just giving you a brief synopsis. And anyway, so after that, somehow someone got information about a concerted effort to coordinate me, Ricky Ross, Michael Rupert, and Gary to get involved with mainly coming up with documents to show that we need to be reimbursed for this incident in El Salvador and Nicaragua. And we couldn't coordinate anything right at the time, but I wound up leaving California, staying in California, and I used connections I knew about in El Salvador and Nicaragua to make extra money. It was just fun and exciting. It had nothing to do with a criminal mentality. I've always needed something adventurous to do. And that was, even though it was stupid what I did, I ran cocaine through Huntington Beach, and they were busting all of our adult runners. So rather than use adult runners, stupidly picked kids. Street kids that were street smart, knew the alleys, knew everything about in and out. They were small enough to get in and out of homes and areas where adults couldn't. So it was easier for them to avoid police. And so what I did was I ran drugs for a while, about 6 months. And then once I realized they started tapping our lines and doing surveillance on us, because I had intel on that from the inside the DEA, and it stopped. And I told the kids, look, this is limit for you. Hit them all like $5,000 a piece, and there was 4 of them. And one of the main was, I'm not going to say his name, but he's one of the ones that came forward just recently with a letter to the court saying that he lied. I was accused of child molestation, or not molestation, but lewd touching, which is massages or something like inappropriately touching, which I did not do. They sent me to jail for that, Orange County Jail. They tried to extradite me from Georgia. I left waiting to be going to the I went to Georgia first. First I did the Sally Jesse Raphael's show in New Haven, Connecticut. Then went to Georgia. So they found out I was in Georgia, and they sent a team down there to pick me up, the Extradition Corporation of America. And the Extradition Corporation of America tried to extradite me from Georgia back to California. When they got into Arkansas, they happened to they tried to drop me off at Sheriff King's jail in Clarksville, Arkansas. Now, Sheriff King was a pretty good sheriff. Fair amount. He said, well, okay, let me see your warrant. So he looks at the warrant and said, okay, I need a copy of that. We'll hold it there. And then after they left, Sheriff King come and talked to me. He said, what's going on here? This doesn't, I know who you are. This doesn't seem like something to me. I said, and when I ran it down to him and everything, he said, let me do some checking on this. So he contacts Rock, talks to somebody there, and they checked and said, wait a minute, that warrant number ain't even active. That's not even an active warrant number. It's not valid. So Sheriff King ends up getting a court order to release me. And if you'll check the papers in Arkansas back in 1980, December of 88, you'll see all the hoopla about what happened. Bill Clinton was the governor at that time. He told California, he tried to send bounty hunters down to get me. Clinton got on national television and said, you send bounty hunters to my state, you're going to send them back to your body bags. That's a fact. So I had a lot of attention, political attention on this case, so they had to find me guilty. So what they did, they put me in that Orange County Jail, and they took me to court first time, and there was media everywhere. And there's that famous picture where you see me like this and stuff. That was the picture went around the world everywhere. So when I get back to the jail, they have me meet with a doctor named Richard Dorsey, known doctor for forced medicating people. He come and talk to me about 5 minutes. He's a pretty dangerous person. And he got all kind of abilities and stuff. And plus, you participated in various escapes and things like that. You have a knowledge of locking devices and things like that most people don't have. I think you're a threat to the jail and my officers. I'm going to have to medicate you until your court thing for their protection and yours. And there was really nothing I could do about it. They forced medicated me. Sent about 20 deputies in there, held me down and injected me with 40 milligrams of Haldol, and then I think Cogent. And for the next 6 months, I'm being injected 3 days for every court thing. But that was after I pleaded not guilty. And my attorney, Jerome Goldfein, said, you need to cooperate with us and plead to this case because they got, I said, they got someone lying. Someone's telling them to say this because I didn't do it. We need you to plead guilty. And I said, I'm not going to plead guilty. What I want is another attorney. So I go to court thinking I was going to get an attorney, and I didn't. They appointed the doctor to examine me, and that's when he says, you're a danger, you're a threat, we're going to medicate you, you're going to court so you don't escape. And next thing you know, the doctor and my attorney is getting me to change my plea from not guilty to guilty. As soon as I change my plea to guilty, the medication stopped. So here's this political case. They've already had egg on their face because Their warrant was destroyed and everything, and Sheriff King says, look, this man stayed with my family, my kids, and everything. If he was a child molester or anything like that, there would have been some evidence or something. Anyway, I wound up getting 17 years in prison. I did 10 years of that 17 years. Now, while this was all going on, nobody told me about a civil commitment. It didn't even exist. The SVP law didn't even exist when this crime was supposed to happen, and the SVP law didn't exist when they sentenced me. So 10 years after my sentence, the SVP law come into effect. I'm in Atascadero. I'm in Folsom State Prison. I'm from the Pelican Bay, Folsom, all those places. Pelican Bay State Prison, I did 4 years in SHU up there. They tried to kill me 3 times. Look at that right here. I ended up having to kill an inmate in prison for stabbing me in the neck in courtroom. I wind up getting out, and rather than get out, my wife comes to pick me up. My wife died of bone marrow cancer on May 17, 2000. I winded up getting out. Died shortly thereafter. I went to Atascadero, and I stayed there for 10 years, fighting the law under Hydrick versus Hunter. And then they transferred us from there to Coalinga, which is right here at Coalinga State Hospital, but it's really shadow prison. And here, ever since I've been here, it took them 18 years to get me to a civil trial. 18 years to get me to a civil trial. When it's only supposed to take them a year. I had 2 jury trials. I had one trial that says, no, he's not guilty. He doesn't meet the criteria. He does not really meet the criteria for SVP placement. The DA almost fell out of her seat. The judge goes like this on camera. I mean, right there. Everybody saw it. See, the judge and the DA were both shocked with the jury's verdict. So they ordered a retrial, and this time they brought the victims in. They even brought in the one victim who just recently sent a letter to the court saying he lied. He was the prosecution's key witness. Illusionist. And they started ruling down our evidence. We couldn't present the same evidence we presented in the first trial. The judge did it. Judge Duffy. Jacqueline Duffy out of San Jose Obispo Superior Court. And so what happened after that is they whittled our case down where we couldn't show any videos of performances, me around kids and stuff, and my reaction and behavior around it, or anything to do with showing good character or anything. They brought the victims in with pictures of them, and then they were underage. The trial went for 18 days or something like 18 days. They went into deliberations for 5 days, come out and said, I meet the criteria. It's over. I'm here for the rest of my life. At this facility, there is no treatment. The treatment they do have treatment. But these are the people who are treating us. Like, these behavior specialists who was one of my facilitators here, because I'm in the group. Who tried to present his child and for sodomizing the child. Then you have these guys, this was a staff member here who brings in child pornography. You have a patient here, a good friend of mine, CJ. He was used by Department of Police Services. They brought him in drugs and phones to sell to the patients. And he videotaped himself. You can go around on the blog that Jen did, and you can see the video where he talks about how the DPS got him working as a confidential informant, and he turned it against him. When he did that, they sent him to prison. Right now, in the newspapers around California, we have...
It's upset.
No, it's right here.
Oh.
We have violence at State Hospital takes toll on staffing levels. But what they don't say is how the violence is being out there. That most of the violence that has taken place is done through because they're not de-escalating or some. We got good staff members here, don't get me wrong, but we have a lot of staff members, as cited on a blog, who say we need to be executed, we need to be castrated, and we don't deserve the air that we breathe. And those are staff members who some work here. And This place is a sterile dungeon. It is not a place that is therapeutic. I've been here 15 years. What mental health treatment takes 15 years to get to solve whatever mental health issue you have? I have a case now going before the courts with this victim who came forward and said the DEA and detectives talked him into lying. He said he told them before I was going to court that he lied, and he says it doesn't matter. He pleaded guilty already. He told them in '88 that he lied, and they told him it doesn't matter. He pleaded guilty. Now he's coming forward in court and telling them, look, you guys still got this man locked up on a lie. And he's saying, God will never forgive me. I'm a Christian now. I got to get this off my chest. This man didn't do anything to me like that. I ran drugs for him, yeah, but you didn't charge him with drug running. You charged him with something that I said he did that he didn't do. And I said he did it because you told me to say he did it.
Is that information public about the new trial?
Not yet, because it's still in the first developing stage. They've already deposed him. They're doing the letters to Scott Taylor is my attorney out of San Luis Obispo. It's called a Taylor Defense Firm. You can look him up. He's the one appointed to my case. Rudy Kraft out of San Luis Obispo will be the attorney who will be taking it to trial for me because he was my appellate attorney and he made all kind of mistakes. Let me tell you something. The attorney who represented me at my civil trial, his name was Raymond Allen. He was a really good attorney, real good. He did a hell of a job on the first trial. Something happened after he won that first trial between the first trial and the second because his whole method of how he was representing me changed. He didn't question the victims. And I told him, question the victims. You can get them to admit that they lied and why they lied. He never did it. It was like he was forbidden from questioning them. And when I talked with him on the phone a couple of weeks ago, he says that is a tactical decision that I am still regretting to this day, especially in light of this victim coming forward. I should have listened to you.
We have 4 minutes left, and the one part that there's a gap that I would like for you to fill in really quick is when you got out of the hospital. I'm so sorry to hear about your wife, but you got out. How did you end up there?
They took me straight from the prison to the hospital.
So you didn't even get to see your wife?
No.
Why did they take you straight to the hospital when you were released from prison? Or was that part of the deal?
No, that's not part of the deal. Retroactively applied the SVP law to me without due process. I knew nothing about the SVP law.
That sounds very familiar with what happens at MSOP. Okay, all right, continue.
I mean, terrible. We can continue this on another time, but here's the thing. This is a terrible place, a very dangerous place. We got issues on this unit right now with people running around beating up old men, extorting money out of them, tearing up their property. I got my property hidden. I have to make devices to protect myself with. If staff hands are tied, they can't do nothing. The program and administrations are the ones that keep putting these dangerous individuals on this unit. Look, the SVP law is bad, but they are dangerous individuals that still need something. They need some taken care of. But they shouldn't be taking these youngsters and bringing them on a unit. I'm on a medical unit, and we shouldn't be exposed to this threat of harm 24/7. And we got patients being beaten up bad on this unit. And something needs to be done. And this is something we need to continue on.
Is it true that you refused any type of treatment?
I've refused treatment for the last 20, 30 years because there is no exit in their treatment protocol, their curriculum. It's just, it's a scam. It's a big scam for money. $388,000 a year it costs to keep kids. Where's that money going? I'm not getting it.
No.
I'm not getting it, yes. But I started treatment in January for the first time.
How's that going?
I have to prove that going through this treatment ain't gonna get you out. a lot. There's people that's been in treatment for 18 years and they ain't got out yet. How am I going to get out ahead of?
Yeah.
It's not going to get you out. You look at this place from the inside. They need an oversight committee at this facility to see what's going on. I really do. We've had 45 deaths at this facility in the last 2 years. 45. It's the highest mortality rate in the state of any institution, both prison and hospital.
Before this closes, I want you to finish with this. What does Jen mean to you?
Jen is wonderful. She is my girlfriend. She's been helping me all along. She's just unbelievable. She means everything to me.
Anything else you want to say before they cut you off?
Just that pay attention to these civil commitments. If you want to get a good example of what this place is, look at the Minority Report with Tom Cruise. The Minority Report. It's pre-crime detention. How are you going to lock someone up for a crime they might commit in the future? That's what they're doing here. They're not locking me up for a crime I committed. I already served my time for that. They're locking me up in punitive conditions for a crime I might commit in the future. Locking you up on a hunch that you might commit a crime in the future. And the state evaluators, that's another thing. It's terrible. We'll continue this another time.
Yes, sir. James, thank you, sir. God bless you, man.
This guy's fake superpowers got exposed on live TV, where people believe that he can move objects without touching them.
With just psychic
powers.
Turn the pages of this telephone directory.
Yes, it is.
He was later exposed to the world.
I don't accept it as a demonstration of psychic power, Bob. What I have here is particles of a white plastic, which, when given a good heavy puff of air, will, I think, rather conclusively show whether or not blowing is a method of copy.
The expert claims that James was actually blowing air onto the objects with his mouth, which turns out he was right.
James?
Ready? The styrofoam and the lights form electricity which pulls the page. Look.
Showing to the world that lies will always be exposed with the truth, no matter what.
If I thought that any of this would be used, I would abandon the film entirely.
Gentlemen, I'm the Amazing Randy.
The Amazing Randy.
The Amazing Randy. Ta-da! A conjurer, prestidigitator, large, cheap, and fake.
The life of Harry Houdini reads very similar to the life of James Randi.
If you're going to get your head cut off, you go to the best guy. Amazing Randy was the best guy.
Randy, you've been going around the country trying to debunk those who say that it's psychic power.
I can't think of that technical term. Oh, yes, both.
What I do is bending or breaking objects.
Uri Geller fooled the pants off them. It was astonishing.
Bend. Look.
Can you do the spoon bending trick?
Does Dolly Parton sleep on her back?
Do you know how many times Randy tried to ruin my career?
You've been taking a lot of medication.
Peter Popoff is a very dangerous man.
In the name of Jesus!
Popoff just seemed to be able to hear the voice of God and know all about people.
John 3784.
We wondered how he got the information.
I dressed as a security guard.
I appeared in disguise.
Randy is trying to say this is a big hoax.
I'll take 2 8 by 10.
The man that puts the fear of God into all those psychics. The Amazing Randy!
The easiest way to be bigger than yourself is to lie.
I was terrified.
A man who's devoted his whole life to uncover real deception has at the center of his life a deception.
Only one of these people is sworn to tell the truth.
What a situation. No matter how smart or well-educated you are, you can be deceived.
Now a demonstration of psychokinetic power or moving objects without touching them.
He'll try to move the pencil, again without touching it. Another psychokinetic demonstration.
Some Chai does not regard his powers as anything special. He believes that anyone can harness this energy from within themselves.
Stop.
Hydrick was then shuffled to different foster homes. Later, he was committed to Witten Center, an institution for the mentally retarded. Tragically, Hydrick was not mentally retarded, as confirmed by his social worker at Witten Center.
Well, you wasn't retarded.
Many alleged psychics present tricks as powers, such as James Hydrick, who duped millions of Americans.
My whole idea behind this in the first place was to see how dumb America was, how dumb the world is.
With trickery, Hydrick fooled millions into believing that he possessed psychic powers. Here, Hydrick apparently causes a dollar bill to rotate at will on the head of a pin, even though it is sealed off by a glass fish tank. This is one of several of Hydrick's tricks which were exposed in my first film, Psychic Confession. Hydrick also claimed he could identify the names of playing cards from the heat given off from each card.
Like I said, the mind wills and the body behaves, and you have to direct the attention of the body to the motion of the mind. The mind knows where all the kings are, but the body doesn't, so you have to direct the attention of the mind to the motion of the body.
So you're going to find them?
Yeah, what I'll do is
Hydrick slowly passes his hand over the cards. The backs of the cards are not marked, so he has no clue where the kings are.
Then you feel it. See, like right there I feel that there's an ace, but I'm not sure, so I have to go over, blow the hand so that you cool the hand off, the temperature of the hand. Then you go over slow.
Notice Hydrick's apparent concentration.
Okay, now I may not be right, but I think that's a king.
A king is correctly identified from the mixed group of borrowed playing cards. How does he do it? I had one of our cameras angled up at Hydrick's hands while he shuffled the cards. Watch as Hydrick cuts and controls each of the kings using sleight of hand. There's one king. Up, there's another, and there's another one. So when Hydrick dealt the cards to the table, he knew the position of each king. Later, Hydrick told me he thought I might also possess some hidden powers.
Now you said that you thought I had some energy or whatever.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Should I try it?
Yeah, why don't you try it yourself?
Only this time, Hydrick let me shuffle the cards. And using sleight of hand, I control each of the kings. I am now dealing each king to a particular position so that I know where they are. But the kings are laid out, so if Hydrick tries to guess the position of a king, he will probably miss due to their psychological position.
Is it okay? Does it have to be a pyramid? Is this
no,
okay?
It doesn't.
Okay, now I move my hand over,
yeah,
right?
move your hand over, and when you feel a warm sensation in the palm of the hand, you know that it's a king, not an ace, a king. But first, be sure you go through all the cards first, and when you feel the card with the warm part, don't pick it up right then. Go past it and make sure it isn't the next card beside it.
I think this one's a king.
Okay, it is.
Well, that's a...
Right,
yeah, but that's still 4. We still had about 16 cards.
Can you feel the heat?
Why don't you see if you can get a king?
Okay.
Now it's Hydrick's turn. And he misses.
That's queen too high.
Okay, let me try it again. Okay. We'll just eliminate these two.
Again, I pass my hand over the cards and I turn over another king, simulating Hydrick's alleged powers.
I go all the way through, right, and then come back? Okay. I think this is a king.
Yep.
I don't know if it's lucky or...
No, luck counts if it is.
I am now rearranging the cards to confuse Hydrick.
Try it
If he really has powers, it shouldn't matter. Hydrick really builds this up only to miss once again.
Did you miss it? Why don't you try maybe doing the, you know how you did the
Okay,
energy?
let me get warmed up here. So, pick a king. See? All right, let's
okay,
start
so
out.
try it with me. Maybe you could try it that way. We could try it another way. Okay, this is the one you turned over, so we'll just eliminate. Okay.
Go ahead.
Now he pretends to pass his powers through me.
I think this is a king.
Yep.
I think we got to stop our ahead, huh?
Hydrick's card trick was amusing, but wait till you see this next one.
A lot of times, the reason I can fight blindfolded is because before a punch is thrown, the heart skips. Before any sudden action is taking place, the heart skips. One example.
Fear or anxiety or adrenaline pumping.
Well, it's adrenaline, and what it does, you know. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab your pulse and hold it. Okay. Now, I don't have any wires hooked up to me to where I can hear your heartbeat.
Okay.
But I can hear your heartbeat. I can actually hear it right now.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, to show you I can hear the heartbeat, I'm gonna beat to your pulse.
Right.
All right. After I beat to your pulse, and when I do have it right on target, you say, okay, you have it. And then wait a few seconds after that, and then think in your mind to attack me.
Okay.
And I'll tell you when you're going to attack.
Are you going to get my pulse?
Yeah, I'll get your pulse first.
Watch as Hydrick apparently reads my mind when I think attack.
You got it.
Whenever you want to attack, go. Now.
Right.
Okay, see? The heart
How did he do it? Let's watch again
Let's try it again,
from another
okay.
angle. Prior to the taping, Hydrick presented this demonstration for me. I noticed that he watched my face out of the corner of his eye. I believe that he was looking for some minute facial change that might tip him off when I thought attack. Notice in this close-up how I deliberately twitch my eyebrow, and then Hydrick says attack.
Whenever you want to attack, go. Now.
Right.
Okay, see? The heart skips. Okay,
let's try it again, okay?
Now watch what happens when I don't twitch my eyebrow. Hydrick misses every time.
Okay, did you think attack? Okay, just go ahead and start over again.
No, you're going to get my pulse first.
Yeah, I know, we're starting over.
Okay, you got it? No.
No?
No.
Okay, what?
Try it again.
Got it?
Yeah, you got it that time.
Then, did you?
No, I did it about 2 seconds before.
Okay.
Most anyone can be fooled given the right conditions. Now listen as I retell what I call the Pluto story.
Anybody...
So for anyone who's wondering, that was Danny Karam, documentary filmmaker. Psychic Confessions was the name of the documentary, which can be found on YouTube. We're using all of this, the content that we're presenting here, the videos that are being shared, all under the fair use philosophy. That is our intent, at least. So hopefully YouTube doesn't have any major problems with that, although certainly wouldn't be holding my breath. Just say a little bit here about the Psychic Confession by Danny Karam. Very controversial in the eyes of, well, James himself. He to this day bears a grudge toward Danny. For what reason exactly, I'm not sure. He was aware, of course, that he was being filmed throughout the entire time. So we'd have to get back in touch with him, or even listen to the shows that we archived over the years. There's a couple that we have done with him. He may have stated at one point or another exactly why it was that he was not pleased with the approach that Danny took. But we have a somewhat lengthy, actually, it's basically some information here that was shared by a friend of his, Bo Keeley, someone who back in the day I believe was known as Steve. And one of our early guests, as a matter of fact. You know, he's Bo King of the Road Keeley, someone who, you know, he's done a lot of traveling throughout the years. I think someone himself who, as with James, is a martial arts aficionado, enthusiast. So there's actually, as I recall, there's an Elvis angle to all of this, not only because of how James studied with Grandmaster Ed Parker, but through Bo's end of things as well. And I think, you know, Bo was very accomplished back in the day as a racquetball player and competitor. So, and for any Elvis fans out there, of course, you'll know that racquetball was one of his big things. I can't recall exactly whether Bo had a chance to work with Elvis in any capacity or not, but it's a small world, as the old saying goes. Let me just take a look here and see. Hopefully, yeah, we've still got Kyler and Alan on board here. Comments coming to us via the peanut gallery end of things as well. Always like to address that. Didgeridoo 3 dropping by along with Johnny Canuck. Thanks, Amos 777, for helping to hold down the YouTube end of things. And a Facebook user, Joshua, asking that we move on from the pedophile and incest talk. He wasn't too, it didn't really do much for him, other than, as with a lot of people, turn them off, unfortunately. But this is one of the things we've got to honestly and openly, candidly discuss these issues, how they relate to James exactly. More as time goes on and things come to light, you can see, hopefully, that the man, he's a political prisoner. He was framed. He was completely railroaded and set up. And, you know, he was someone, multiple attempts on his life behind bars. He was on death row, is what he's, actually, no, it's true. He was on death row. He escaped from prison. He's escaped from prison on several occasions throughout the years. You know, different set of circumstances currently, of course. But yeah, he was on death row. Out of the blue, they just put him on death row. He found out that he had a very short time to live. He managed to escape. I'm not sure if that's where he pole vaulted. He broke through a concrete wall, ended up pole vaulting over the prison walls, finding his way into at least some temporary state of liberation. And he won a cash settlement to the tune, what was it? Was it $15,000? It doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, really, all things considered. But, you know, it's just, he's a marked man. There's no doubt about that. And with the special ops super soldier business, clearly that factors into things here in a big way. He's been pretty open about his, really, if truth be told, he's talked about this in the past with us. He was on a human rights fact-finding mission, having to photograph these, basically the death squads would leave behind mass graves of people who, I mean, that's their form of justice down in, what were the countries? Nicaragua and El Salvador, I think he may have mentioned, but yeah, no chance at a trial for all too many people, unfortunately. As Mao said back in the day, power comes from the barrel of a gun. That was his thinking, at least. But no, he had, along with the rest, other people that were part of that particular fact-finding mission, they had to photograph these mass graves that the death squads had produced. As things turned out, in the end, the ones responsible for the mass murder, they were caught, they were detained, and then if you can believe it, folks, they were provided with U.S. citizenship. That was their, I don't know if some might see that as punishment, but maybe one of the reasons why America isn't quite as free as it used to be. Dropping from 6 to 24, this formal study that they've recently published, the numbers on the global index end of things since 2000, yeah, it's a considerable it's not all that positive, is it? That's not the sort of direction you want to be moving in. Gentlemen, Kyler, Alan, before I turn my focus here to reading this letter, and then we have a couple other videos to share, and I think that'll be pretty much it, time to wrap up. But do you want to just jump in here and let's have your voices heard if you've got any further, any commentary or insights this particular moment, things you'd like to say regarding, I mean, what did you think of the interview that we should give credit, of course, once again, that was courtesy of Joshua Berglund, someone who may be listening right now in real live time. We had just in the last 24 hours reached out to, all of this came together, as a matter of fact, because we thought we were going to be producing Willie Nelson's 90th birthday tribute show, which actually will be coming to next week. So any Willie Nelson fans out there can look forward to that. I really regret missing out on Van Morrison's 75th anniversary, birthday celebration, which was just a couple of years ago. Well, hopefully, if he's around long enough, we'll have his 80th. Of course, yes, we did mark Dylan and his 80th. So, Willie, 90 years old, the Hollywood Bowl 2-day celebration. Yeah, mark that down your calendar, folks. It's just an amazing, amazing career and catalog of music. But in the meantime, James Hydrick, there's a lot of moving parts to this man's story, I would argue, and why there hasn't been more extensive documentary coverage or movies put together regarding his life story, I have no idea. The point earlier that I made regarding Louis Theroux and his documentary coverage, A Place for Pedophiles, which James was not yet part of the Coalinga system, as it were, shadow prison as it operates in all too many instances, unfortunately. But we have reached out to him on the behalf of James, just challenging him to return and to listen to what he and others have to say regarding the corruption, how bad it is, how life has fared for them over the course of the past couple of years, with the whole scamdemic, of course, the plandemic, the corona apocalypse. 45, what did he say? I think it was close to 45 inmates over the past couple of years dying. Some might say, "Oh, that's a wonderful thing," but there's it's a hot button topic, and people's emotions definitely can run quite high with this whole area when it comes to abuse of underage minors and so forth. But in James's case, once again, you look into the details, and there's nothing there. And really, with this witness now coming clean, his conscience getting the best of him, even though, by God, I think, wasn't this the case all the way back in 1988? I'll have to go back and see exactly what James said. Do either of you remember what was he saying as far as 1988? There's something that was definitely seemed like was in his favor. There's no doubt about that. Well, I'm not sure if we have either of them, or they've stepped away. Kyler?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, have at it, my friend.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for allowing me to come on tonight. I knew James Randi. He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. I loved him very, very much. I've met him a couple of times, and this other guy, this fraud that was exposed to James Randi, and then went to Johnny Carson, and then was exposed again. And
Uri Geller?
Just crazy. Uri Geller was crazy. He's a con artist, just a con artist. He was just doing his thing. He's a grifter. I'm a master magician myself. I'm a master magician, and I mastered 5 forms of martial arts. I was also special ops, and I also have a degree in master's in neuro-linguistic programming, interrogation, and I'm also a psychic. And I have a lot of other powers too. I'm a vivid dreamer. I travel, I astral travel, I quantum travel, I quantum jump. So I understand this guy very well that's going through this political turmoil. I was undercover, and we were a double agent. I had a double agent working with me that went to the other side and asked for money to turn over our dossiers and reports on the investigation for my 5-year undercover operation that we were exposed in, and we were sued for $20 million. I was undercover with Governor Ann Richards' office as a special agent, and working in South America and in Nicaragua, working in Bogota, I was working in Colombia. I was actually good friends with a couple of the most popular cartel leaders in the world. I'm sure both of you could mention them. I'm not going to mention them on air right now.
Did you ever meet Bo Greitz?
No, I've met a lot of people, Jeffy.
Well, what about Bo in particular?
The point is that I want to make tonight is I want to make the point that I didn't want anybody to think that I was advocating for pedophilia or pedophiles earlier. I just want people to wake up to the enormity of this situation and the complexity of the psychological situation. The psychology of this whole thing is very complex. And people lie, people cheat, people defraud each other. We're always trying to sell each other a bill of goods. What's inside of people, you'll never know. People lie. Men come on air and say, "Oh, Kyler, you're a pedophile." No, I'm just honest, and I just study a lot, and I research a lot, and I look at the statistics, and I interview people, and I know the human mind, I know the human psyche, and I know how men are. And so not all men are like this. A lot of men lie. Most men lie. You know, most men will say, "Oh, I would never think that." Oh my God, you're a pedophile for even thinking that. But 80% of the men, maybe 85, maybe 89% of men have these fantasies about young girls. Now, whether they act on them or not is another thing. I don't advocate acting on any of this, and I don't advocate taking adrenochrome from babies or screaming women, naked women on concrete slabs or soul cooking or anything like that. I just want the audience to be perfectly clear on my position that men are horny, men are dangerous, men are predators, and a lot of women are predators.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. You just read my
School
mind.
teachers. Well, school teachers have their own organization now here in the United States that women for young boys, and they've come out in the open and admitted it. Lots of women have these fantasies and have sex with their pupils, young pupils. So anyway, I just wanted the audience to realize that I'm a sociologist, I'm a scientist, I'm a psychic, I'm a psychologist, I'm into neurology, I'm into really deep into sociology. And so I look at these things in a different way, from a different perspective, a very deep perspective that most people are afraid to touch. And that's all I had to say tonight. And I want to thank you for having me on. And, you know, I really appreciate you, Jaffe, for everything that you're doing. Again, I hope you got my 2 letters today. And I hope you take those very, very seriously and think about what I'm saying in those letters. I want you all to know before I leave, and I'm leaving right now, we're about 10 seconds away from war, ladies and gentlemen, and you better get ready because my intel that came in today, it's the end game. It's over. It's over. There's nothing else to talk about. There's no going back. There's no getting better. There's no winning. All of your patriotism, forget it. All of your militia talk, forget it. All of your half glass full crap, new age crap, forget it. It's over. Game over. We lost. We did too little, too late, and now all of you are going to suffer the consequences of your actions, and you're all going to be eating shit sandwiches here very soon. Jeffy, thank you for having me on. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Yeah. Happy sailing, Kyler. So thank you for your input. As always, very much valued and appreciated. Alan.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, I'm back. I was just I was away for a moment. I wonder if I missed anything, but yeah, I just received a phone call from a friend of mine who, funny enough, is actually in jail for something he didn't do.
Oh, what is that?
Well, something he did do. He, shall we say, there was a violent thing that was taken out of context, and he got given a big jail sentence for a small thing, shall we say. So,
that wouldn't be DK conspiracy.
No.
Okay. No, so basically, what you're saying is that someone who were they online and maybe they were joking and.
A friend just called me from jail.
Right.
And because he's a mate, and you talk to mates like that every now and then, and yeah, but I think he was jailed unfairly. Put it that way.
Well, what was the context? I don't understand. Somebody who said something on the internet or on the in public or on the telephone or.
No, in real life.
Oh, like what? They were downtown at a pub, a shopping mall.
No, well, this is a situation that happened quite a few years ago.
Oh, wait. So hold it. So he's being locked up now because of something that allegedly took place a long time ago?
Yeah. Yes, correct. Well, he's been in jail for a while.
Oh, he's been in jail for a while now.
Because about 4 or 5 years he's been in.
Because he said something. What did he say, allegedly?
No, I think you misheard me. Basically, there was a.
This is all you understand. It's all anonymous, right? It's just we have no idea. It's just the general context. What happened?
It was shall we say, a violent crime out of context. Yeah, there was a crime.
Were threats made, or was there actual physical?
Physical. Yeah. There's someone got a cut on their leg. Yeah, that's about it.
With a knife? With a scratch?
Yeah, like a kitchen knife or something. No, not a kitchen knife. Just a butter knife type thing.
So something took place in someone's kitchen with a butter knife.
something like that.
Oh my God! Oh
That
jeez.
because
Were they drinking? Was alcohol involved?
oh yeah. Alcohol's always a big part of it.
Oh, well, jeez. Oh,
but anyway, he's hopefully he'll be getting out later this year.
oh well, good. Are they going to keep on drinking when they?
Probably not. No. He's yeah.
Were they able to seek some sort of alcohol or addiction counseling while incarcerated?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. Because well, you can't drink, you can't smoke in jail. So
yeah. Well,
you've got to learn to handle it, or
there's a lot of smuggling. A lot of things are smuggled, of course. So, and that's one of the things that James made quite clear here with child porn, for example, drugs and illegal cell phones and so whatnot coming into this facility at Coalinga. But there's a central role in all this played by the staff members themselves. They've been caught dead to rights, and nobody's talking about it except for maybe us. So,
well,
not a hell of a lot of people, man. And this, the truth needs to be, they need to be held to account. It needs to be outed.
Yeah. You're a bit like me, mate. You're a dreamer.
Well, hey, maybe, or just like a real social justice warrior.
Yeah.
Like of a different breed. Like people think, oh, social justice warrior. Well, I think there's all kinds of social justice warriors. I just look at something and I think that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Like what the hell? Like that's just not right, man.
That shouldn't be right.
No.
And like I was saying earlier, it's all about what's right and wrong, and like natural law, for a perfect example, is
yes, exactly
the great thing. Sort of, like the main thing with natural law is don't steal.
And non-aggression principle. Don't hurt. Don't hurt people. Don't hurt. You shouldn't hurt animals or anything like that either. But
the term "don't steal" sort of covers that, because it means if you get violent to someone, you're taking something from them. You're violent. If you steal something from something, you're stealing. But that's it's a crime sort of thing. But you just got to not hurt anyone else. And because I'm a bit of a dreamer too, you know what I mean? Yeah, you'd like to think that, but
imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. That's it. And John Lennon accused, I guess, everyone you constantly hear, that's a New World Order anthem. It's like, well, okay, or it's just a good song. It's like,
sure, like what these people were supposedly into back in the fucking 60s or whatever. But who gives a fuck? It was a good song.
Yeah, man. It's like, geez, holy, oh my God. So, I mean, you could make the case in the argument for that, fine, and or you could just say it's like, hey, great song, uplifting, makes if you listen to it, it's like, yeah, it's a positive message. What's wrong with that? It makes people feel a little better. I mean, isn't there enough depression and suffering and despair in the world as it is? Like, do we really need more? Why can't, at least Lennon, he contributed to positivity.
We've got more coming up very shortly.
Come again? What's that?
According to Kyla, we've got more coming up shortly.
Yeah. Well, there's always a lot of really, given how things have transpired to this point, and the New World Order community has really flexed its muscle, and so many people, unfortunately, just overly compliant. Just having been conditioned throughout all these years to conform to everything, no questions asked, and
then look at you funny if you choose to question things. Us that question things, we're quite often looked at. Oh, that conspiracy theorist guy, or that's just Alan. You get that? Oh, that's just Jeffy.
Well, I mean,
Hey?
that's
You get that, wouldn't you? Oh, Jeffy.
oh, like from one of my employers here. It's like, why can't you just be normal? Why can't you be like everybody else? It's I said to her, it's well, at least I'm real. You know, at least I'm not bullshitting you. I'm being very honest here.
Actually, well, I don't know about that. I've never seen your face, and well, you could be an AI bot for all I know.
You'll have to. Well, you'll just have to come to Korea then, Alan. We have a guest house waiting for you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll get on that shortly. Maybe next year sometime.
Can you afford that? Really? Can you afford that?
Not at all.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even have a passport. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, well, you get well, who needs one? Really? I mean, they won't let us travel anywhere anyways, right? So that's the whole thing. And the thing is, like, I basically have lived here myself, a virtual political prisoner since 2007. Most of our regular listeners know that. You can see everything coming down even way back then. And the thing is, I would not travel. I wouldn't travel at that stage because of the over intrusiveness, really. Intrusiveness and overreach, largely with biometrical end of things. And now it's to the point where I can't go anywhere even if I wanted to. So because how many shots have you taken? How many? More, you got to take more of those experimental kill shots. They should brand it as love juice or something like that. Maybe make it more fashionably acceptable. Love juice. Yeah. Anyways, okay, let's get the rest of what we have on board here queued up. And
Jeffy, I've got to have to head off.
Yep.
I've got to go and do stuff. Yeah, away from the computer.
There you go. So yeah, a little more. What is it? Lawn bowling or?
Yeah. Well, I'm going down the bowling club. Yep, down the bowling. Yeah. How could you guess?
That's your general routine. It seems your weekly routine. So, how have you had much of a chance or opportunity on the relation or romantic front as far as being able to meet any? What do you call them? Birds down under?
Birds. Yeah.
The Brits do as well.
But yeah, well, actually, I met an old girlfriend in the supermarket the other day. Actually.
Oh, all right. Oh, so this is a former flame of yours, is it?
Yeah.
Well, did you ask her out for a drink or a coffee or lunch or?
Nah, I didn't. But
didn't bother.
I will see her again. Yeah, she's a sister of a mate.
Okay, so you're still on good terms.
Yes.
All right. Totally. Oh well, maybe worth pursuing.
I'd like to get on better terms, though. You know what
I mean? Jolly Roger, yeah, Jolly Roger. That I didn't realize. I just learned a couple months ago, really, maybe a year or so, that Jolly Roger. This is kind of an interesting bit of trivia for anyone out there who's wondering that Jolly being happy and Roger, isn't that slang? Isn't that what the Brits use as slang for? Maybe even you Aussies as well for shagging, as the English put it.
A Roger is a stiffy, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
That's a Roger.
Jolly Roger. Yeah.
Jolly Roger is a happy stiffy.
Right. Yeah.
No, there's nothing worse than when you've got a stiffy and you're not happy.
Yeah, I guess that's right. So, but
conversation's generating a bit.
Yeah, well, like I said, though, myself, and I'm sure there's many others out there who've noticed that as they age, their libido, I mean, it's not so much of a priority anymore to produce children and to get, it's like, gee, I need to bang again. I need to go have this routine and have, intercourse with whoever. But as I've shared here on the show in the past, that the wife, because of her, I guess it's menopause years, that she's gone from being very, very passive to more of an aggressive type cougar sort of
Well, that can
personality.
be entertaining. That
Pardon
can be
me?
entertaining, I guess. Yeah. Well,
It's
you're getting
it's a
some.
kind of frightening actually to see that change, that shift in her personality. It's like, holy geez, slow down. Oh my God.
You gotta roll with the tide, matey.
Oh my God. It's like I'm being raped by can I call like being raped by my wife?
Oh,
oh,
I feel so bad for you, you lucky
yeah.
bastard.
Yeah. It's oh man. Not fun, honestly. It's like I gotta be in the mood, myself. It's gotta be in the mood. And if she's come home and just we gotta be feeling, we do a little thing like hug therapy, right? Just a hug. And I'm sure if I don't know where Jen Lizzie lives. That's James's girlfriend, and whether they get married or not, I have no idea. But as you probably heard in the interview, his first wife passed away a number of years ago, but he's reestablished something of a relationship with this other artistically minded lady, very very talented, and I hope that she lives nearby and that they're able to meet up from time to time for conjugal visits.
So
But the interesting thing, what they say at places like Coalinga, because you see, it's against their interest, right? They don't want to cure anybody. They don't. They need to have things running at maximum, as much capacity as possible. $300,000 a year to hold each of these people. And do you think that how much, the kind of food that they get served to them on a daily basis? It's there's a lot of money that is God only knows where it's going. So, but with the relationship end of things, yeah, just the hug therapy of being with your partner, holding them as a friend, as a lover, just as a human, exchanging loving, kind, healing, supportive energy. It's the way what we all need, really. That's the way how nature is structured, how it operates. That's the form of things. So look at that
grab one of the old
kick.
bowling ladies and give her a hug.
Pardon me?
I might have to go down the bowler and give one of the old boilers a hug.
Yeah, if you run into that old girlfriend of yours, which you might hear, it sounds like at some point. So good luck with that. Thank you for dropping by once again. We'll get your contact information up here in the show description, and if things with the archived end of what we produce, obviously. So happy sailing, matey. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
All the best.
As I often say, be good to each other. Yeah.
Fair winds upon ye. So there goes Alan, 777, or just simply Alan, as he often likes to be known, more of a preferable type handle. So, all right, folks, all we've pretty much got for you here at this moment is just looking at Skype here on the side as well, too. Yeah, okay, well, it is what it is. And got a couple more videos in the queue, and it's a little tricky because sometimes things jump around a little bit. But what we're going to do is to share with you the first 7 or 8 minutes, I believe is what it is here, of Danny Coram Psychic Confessions, the first segment. It is something that, in fact, I'm gonna read the letter to you, though, that was sent to us courtesy of Bo Keeley. I'm assuming that he has no problems with us doing that, sharing it with you on air. If our computer, the desktop doesn't freeze up, which it looks it might be on the verge of doing here again. So imagine that. Just shut this down here. The Twitter end of things, actually, one of the browsers that we can jettison. Come on now, work with us. Work with us. Here we go. Is this going to do it here? We're close. So, no, it's just right on the verge. Oh, dear God. Okay, here we go. All right. So Bo Keeley, he's a world traveler, at least very much someone who knows the U.S. probably as best as nearly anyone you can imagine. Bo, king of the road. Keeley, really great quality photographer. In fact, I think a whole number of the pictures that you're seeing come to you in the slideshow this evening are courtesy of Bo. But in the meantime, yes, here's the brief letter type information that he's passed on to us here regarding Psychic Confession by Danny Carem, starting by how it's just mentioning his photo. This is off of Facebook. I know that it's this photo, he says, because my Christian brother sent his Christian buddy, magician and filmmaker Danny Carem from Dallas to the Salt Lake Dojo with me as an initial target. That's right. I guess they were looking to help out Bo to begin with. This is where it's really starts to get interesting. My brother wanted me debriefed by Carem as he feared I had lost my mind to a demon cult. So Carem first came to me at the dojo that was flourishing after That's Incredible. I found him to be an athletic greaseball. He was just after a Hydrick for a pre-made movie deal. He had to, in his pre-contract, get a confession out of Hydrick on film. So those were the terms and conditions of the contract, getting a confession out of Hydrick. With this agenda, he maneuvered James, slanted the film, and edited it atrociously. My brother eventually took me up in his Virginia attic with a circle of Christian friends to exorcise the Hydrick demons out of me. Well, I read a paperback book. How hilarious is that, huh? So, with these facts, Carem did an excellent job in producing the yellow film. There were 4 shootings. The initial on his first visit to the dojo in 1980 to get short footage to show his contract people. Next, a return trip with a full crew for extensive videoing for about a week. Then he took Hydrick to Dallas to a studio with sensitive microphones to detect breathing during the illusions. Meanwhile, TV anchor Hugh Ainsworth went with another film crew and interviewed Hydrick's kin in Georgia, South Carolina. Coincidentally, I had just interviewed Hydrick's siblings for a biography and preceded Ainsworth to the South, where I had interviewed some of the same people. James dislikes Carem to this day for hoodwinking him and sending his career into a downward spiral. Come here. There's another Danny that we have here on board as the story goes. Each and every week he finds his way from out on the verandas where he likes to sun himself. But yeah, he's with us now, so I'll do my best to keep him calm and sedate while reading the rest of this. So while disliking Carem, someone that he feels hoodwinked him and sent his career into a downward spiral, he likes Ainsworth a lot, who still calls him occasionally at Coalinga State Hospital. And he likes James Randi, who called him frequently until his death in October 2020. And, you know, I had no idea that James, the amazing Randi, had passed away. I would have thought I would have heard about it, but it somehow never came to my attention. So it'd be interesting to know the details, whether he, I wonder if he took some of the first kill shots or what the deal was exactly. It'd be really interesting to find out more information regarding how he passed. He was pretty old, I think around the age of 92 or 3. But anyways, Carême made a fortune from psychic confession, and none of the money went to Hydrick, despite a side agreement via Randi. Carême also parlayed the movie into a couple of books in which Hydrick is highlighted and became an FBI profiler. So there we go. That's all courtesy of Bo Keeley. Thanks once again to Joshua T. Berglund, who provided the opening segment, the interview, in fact, that we watched, kicking things off. What we're going to do now, as promised, is queue up the balance of what we have here. I think might be either, is it 2 or 3 items? Oh, gosh. You know, let's just see. We might have run through everything that we had on board, as a matter of fact. I do believe that's the case. Sure, yeah. All right, so all we have here then is this final segment. This is going to be interesting. And we're only going to play the first part. People have to track it down. Psychic confession. I believe have a link to the archive location, archive.org. You can find that in the show notes. It's all definitely well worth watching. So thank you to everyone, including, like him or not, Danny Carême, the work that he did in putting the story together, James, Bo Keeley, everyone that's joined us here this week, including Kyler and Alan, all the listeners out there. Lurkers as well, as always, let's remind you to log in. It does help to provide a little more flow and smooth consistency to the live streams we put together here, anywhere between 2 to 3 times a week.
Psychics. They claim to possess powers which enable them to move inanimate objects, bend metal with the light stroke of a finger, and assist police in their search for slain victims. This man has been acclaimed as the world's leading psychic. Danny Carême investigates those who claim to have psychic powers.
Now, you must consider that claims of psychic powers might be deceitful or even dangerous.
Danny Carême, an alleged psychic, in the first psychic confession.
The newspapers and other media will often feature the exploits and claims of so-called psychics, and they will rarely call those claims of power into question. I'm Danny Carême, and for the past 12 years I have been researching claims of psychic powers and presenting my findings in university lectures. Because of my expertise, a friend called and asked me to investigate a purported psychic who was influencing his brother. This program is about the shocking story that I found. It begins in Salt Lake City with a self-proclaimed psychic named James Hydrick.
James Hydrick, martial arts instructor. Believed by many to be the world's leading psychic. Intellectually armed with a third-grade education and claiming to be self-taught in the martial arts, one is easily impressed by Hydrick's exhibitions of strength, cat-like agility, power unleashed in a blow from only 1 inch. And the blind man's version of combat. Hydrick claims he developed his abilities in adolescence and later perfected in manhood. Regardless of their size, Hydrick could apparently move objects at will.
When I arrived in Salt Lake, Hydrick and his abilities were attracting extensive coverage by the local media.
Earlier this month, a 21-year-old martial arts expert now living in Salt Lake walked into the Salt Lake Tribune and said, "I can move objects without touching them." Reporters and editors, skeptics and believers together watched as James Hydrick did, in fact, move pencils, turn pages in a notebook, and flutter the leaves of a plant. A publisher in Chicago wants to market a book about Hydrick's life, and some producers of national programs, including Johnny Carson, and That's Incredible, have also expressed an interest in what he does.
When I move a pencil, I don't think, I do.
Is it a magician's trick? Can he control his breathing like a ventriloquist and literally blow the objects away? Hydrick refutes his critics by turning sideways and moving the object. Sometimes he has others join him, using them as the instrument in moving the object.
And you can, and when he does it, sometimes he'll say to touch him, and it's almost like you can feel an electricity, a force that's there that you can't quite, it's like you tingle all over if you even go to touch him.
The television exposure Hydrick received made his school of martial arts seem acceptable to parents like Steve and Sharon Clark, who Coram interviewed.
The attitude, the way the man conducted himself, and the things that he did, so I told Jimmy that he could go ahead and enroll in the program.
Hydrick's school enrolled over 300 students, but Hydrick had another goal.
Get something like a monastery to where I can bring them up to where they all have mental power.
$16,000 of funding was provided by this woman, Janice Schrock, a divorcee who adopted Hydrick after she visited him at his studio.
He was 22 years old.
Yes.
Did you think that might be an unusual relationship, adopting somebody that old?
Yes, but I thought of it in the light of he wanted to go somewhere, and he was interested in a monastery, and I had connections in this respect, and I thought that if he has made up his mind that that's what he wants to do, then I could help him in a lot of things.
To aid the development of the monastery, she wanted Hydrick to visit a cult-like group in California.
Swami Kriyananda, he has a city it's Nevada City, California. It's known as Ananda. It's I think he has about 150 families that live there. I want him to visit because he was interested in a monastery, but he wanted a monastery where he'd have children and families and such things, and this is what Swami Kriyananda has.
Hydrick's influence quickly spread to other parts of the country. Appearances on primetime television and billed by the tabloids as the world's leading psychic, other more reliable sources such as the Associated Press stated, Hydrick has at various times and always in the presence of reporters done the following. Turned the pages of telephone books from 10 feet away and moved pens, pencils, plants, and other objects by giving them hard stares. A scientist and professor of electrical engineering at the University of Utah, after much testing, also concluded that Hydrick's demonstrations of mind over matter were indeed authentic. Coram discovered that the Salt Lake police were also interested in Hydrick. Detective Clegg informed Coram that Hydrick had served time in Los Angeles for kidnapping and robbery, and he was considered dangerous by the Salt Lake police.
James has quite a lot of ability. He's quite athletic, and he could be quite dangerous.
There were others who also knew of Hydrick's criminal record.
Before you make any decisions, read about my life, and he gave me this folder of police records.
John and Krista Bates took in the 21-year-old Hydrick after he moved to Salt Lake from Los Angeles. They believed they could help him overcome his past.
And that whole night I was sitting up in the dining room and I was reading it, and, you know, it didn't, for some reason, upset me at all. I just felt like this boy needed some help, and maybe for some reason I could be the one to help him.
The Bates had met my friend's brother, Steve, and John told me of Steve's harmful obsession with Hydrick's powers.
James to have some connection with all of this supernatural stuff that was going on, and Steve just lost contact with reality, in essence, and for several days they couldn't get him out of the hotel. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't get dressed, and finally they were successful in getting him into the psychiatric clinic at the university, UCLA.
But Hydrick's students were convinced that they too could possess the same psychic powers.
Cause the building to crack, to rotate, cause that bag to react, cause the balls to move, cause the lights to move. Cause these things to start swinging, cause them to start swinging. That's good.
Do you believe that James is a fake?
He could be. It doesn't matter to me if he is or isn't.
The devotion of cult members to their leaders has led to tragedy in the past.
I don't accept the court. I don't accept the whole situation. You know, like I was in the desert minding my business.
Charles Manson.
This confusion belongs to you. It's your confusion. I don't have any confusion. I don't have any guilt. I know what I've done.
His teachings and claims of power led his followers to bizarre acts of devotion and to murder. Jim Jones, a powerful speaker. He also used simple conjuring tricks to convince his followers that he possessed powers. He claimed the power to heal, but tragically demonstrated that he could persuade hundreds to join him in death. Sadly, there seems to be no shortage of people willing to follow unquestionably someone who claims to have powers, especially if he promises them a share of that power.
Allowing the mind to overpower the body, the mind wills and the body behaves.
Coram had reason to suspect that Hydrick could also become a persuasive cult figure.
And you can tear up about 15, 20 people at one time with these. And because of the holes are in them, it makes it so where
it moves
move faster.
No resistance.
Yeah. And
after lengthy discussions, Coram convinced his friend's brother Steve to end his relationship with Hydrick. When Steve was no longer under Hydrick's influence, Coram decided to film Hydrick.
I asked Hydrick if I could film him for a program dealing with alleged psychics. Although he agreed, I remained cautious.
We have outside and inside training quarters. And what I'll do is, without my students even knowing it, I will take them downtown and have them attacked.
A criminal record and lethal weapons. Hydrick had to be approached with great care.
It can break the wrist. If it's used right, it can come and take the arm around the body and break it.
There was no doubt in Coram's mind that Hydrick was a threat, but even more alarming, a negative influence on others. And his powers. Are they psychic?
And his powers, are they psychic? All right. Great question, Mr. Jack Palance. What a great Hollywood legend and character actor he was, of course. So really, I think one of the things that we can see there is the way that the documentary is trying to suggest, the whole cult angle, cult recruitment, and the perhaps charisma of James, as it was back in the day, and still continues to be even up into the present to a certain extent, I would imagine. And he's been very above board, very open with the whole business of how the powers that be, I'm not sure if he's explicitly said CIA or what have you, but there was a definite effort on the part of the powers that be to recruit him so that he could become someone such as maybe the next Charles Manson, Jim Jones, or what have you, as we just saw there a few moments ago. But repeatedly, time and again, James has said that was never part of his agenda or vision whatsoever. Categorically rejected the whole notion. Fascinating angle, though, nonetheless. And one more reason why the authorities might want to do all they can to keep him silenced, why multiple attempts have been made on his life. There's a lot more to this story than what most people have any idea, of course. All they, generally, people, unfortunately, immediately want to latch on to the whole the charges that James has had to contend with over the years, and take the stance and position, well, hey, serves him right, good for him, should throw lock him up, throw away the key. He's lucky that he hasn't been executed yet to this point, or what have you. And once again, the only thing that he was ever convicted of was alleged inappropriate touching. Now, with the original witness, one of them, the only one whose testimony was made a part of the case, from what I understand, has clearly stated that they gave the statements were made entirely under duress. And I think, as James stated during the initial segment that we shared with you, that even though, years ago he wanted to change his plea, or rather, I think because, forcibly medicated is another issue. That if people looking at this case are not able to acknowledge, as if that doesn't set off any red flags whatsoever. Gotta love those red flags. The whole thing just stinks to the high heavens. So, along with political prisoner John Ford, James is himself, I would argue, as far, there could quite likely be any number of others, of course, but among America's highest profile yet least known political prisoners. So the Just Future Project, I think, what is it? Project Innocence is another, something to that effect, mentioned earlier by Kyler. These are all for people who are advocates and want to support people, including James, to work on better getting the details regarding their cases out to the public. That is certainly, one avenue and angle way of going about doing things. We will be back this following Tuesday night, as always, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 out on the East Coast. That is, of course, Wednesday here, 12 noon, via the Tokyo and Seoul time zone. Hoping everyone, as always, has a great weekend. Take a few moments to not only check out our archived content, but drop by the main website, WPRPN.com, the People's Pirate Network. Keep in mind, sign up is free. All you simply need is a username, password, and email. That's the way you can quite easily and freely launch your own in-house URL, or man or woman cave, as it were, whatever the case may be. If it's a Z or Zer that you prefer, if you prefer Z or Zer, we can accommodate you as well. Not a problem whatsoever. We're open pretty much to everybody. So pirate1radio@protonmail.com is our email. If you'd like to help us out via PayPal, something we always appreciate. We have over the years as well too sent a little bit in the way of support to James, among others, during typically the Operation Secret Santa, the annual Christmas extravaganza, 10-day telethon outreach campaign, as we work to do all we can to shine a light on the issues of world hunger, homelessness, unemployment, and mental illness. There's a lot of people out in the streets who suffer from addictions and mental wellness, unfortunately. Almost seems as if it goes with the territory in many ways. On behalf of Captain Long John Sinclair, well, before we get to that whole business of Captain Long John Sinclair, just to cap things off, if you can't help us out through PayPal, picking up a T-shirt, coffee mug, even the D-Live end of things, Minds, BitChute, Odyssey, with the digital rewards system that all of these various platforms have in place. If all of these are beyond your means, just take a couple moments to help like, comment, share. Remember to hit the subscription and notification buttons wherever you find them across social media. It helps with the algorithms, in theory at least, and gives our content a bit of a boost. We are working on building more of an underground, independent, online, digital pirate network. You are the folks who make it all come to life, of course. I do my part here at the helm, serving as Chief Communications Officer. But as we saw this evening, the likes of Kyler, Alan, Joshua, Joey Boomer out there as well. Last one, 207. And Johnny Canuck, along with any number of the various lurkers who this go-around failed to log in. Hopefully next time it won't prove to be so much of a problem. We welcome and invite all of your thoughts, comments, questions, or what have you. So this, once again, was all a very spontaneous weekly World Pirate Radio podcast production. We had thought that Willie Nelson's 90th birthday would be on tap this go around, but that's not going to happen until next week. So something all you Willie Nelson fans can look forward to. Be sure to have any stories you may have of him and the band or his roadies. I know we've got a few. We were fortunate enough to meet Willie back in the day. Kyler, in fact, I believe he was part of the road crew for a little while. So hopefully he can make it, because, you know, his input on that front will be very much appreciated. He shared over the times that he has dropped by here and connected with us a whole host of colorful stories via the road, touring with Willie and the boys. Even a little something regarding Bob Dylan, which I'd never heard of until Kyler drew it to our attention. It was really quite something to learn about. So on behalf of Captain Long John Sinclair and all the rest of the crew here aboard the Robin Hood, until we meet again via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas, I'm your host, as always, show's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Tally-ho.
Aye now, there we be. Having carefully looked over each of our navigation panel instruments,
checking every level, switch, dial, cable, knob, and pulley, by all accounts and indications, we indeed see it's time once again to drop anchor inside Mystic Bay.
Draw an end to yet another week of World Pirate Radio Live.
Remember,
if you're looking for a little more animated online action,
keep in mind we've likely got yet another great free-flowing Rogues Gallery after show
coming up for the next hour in one of our more premium, exclusive, and remote digital underground online pirate hideaways. Also, if you yourself have a new,
novel, intriguing, or otherwise underreported idea, unique individual, or pressing item in mind, be sure to either drop us a line directly over on WPRPN.com or fire us a quick email
via PirateOneRadio@ProtonMail.com.
We're always open to exploring fresh creative suggestions, intriguing guest ideas, cutting-edge discussion topics, and captivating themes.
Remember, WPRPN.com member site subdomain links are also always available.
Great for artists, musicians, podcasters, bloggers, social media personalities,
or pretty much just any old land lover
looking to boost their online visibility, presence, and reach.
Basic personal profile accounts can be launched for just $60 per year.
Staking your claim now helps not only strengthen you and the network, we're also looking out for the little guy. That's right, folks. As much as half of all WPRPN's profits are redirected right back into the hands of the people who really need it most. Community charity. After all, we are the Robin Hood.
You can further embark on your own personal pirate journey by either liking, sharing,
commenting on, subscribing to, or just following us via virtually any mainstream social media platform, including Twitter, Facebook,
Gab,
or Minds.com. So don't forget to become engaged. Until we meet again out on the high digital seas, I'm your host as always, the ship's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Tally-ho.